This is a concoction you can try at home. Start with a normal human. For example, the typical underachieving male that exemplifies the mundane and mediocre elements of your society and or nation. Add a healthy helping of aliens and space travel. Throw this character through wacky and zany adventures that he is forced to participate, and he could never return home because, of course, he can't. It's been destroyed. Add several ounces of humor all throughout and critical events within the story that bear no real grasp on reality nor hold any significance or any deeper meanings. Finish it off by sticking it in the oven of absurdity to really, really see how well it can bake. Would you be able to create one of the most memorable, influential, and inaccurately named 5, nay, 6-part trilogies? Today, we're going to be talking about the author who wrote this work, mostly, along with discussing other works that he's done and a lot of his artistic contributions. His name is Douglas Adams. Hello and welcome back to the library. And after a brief hiatus, realistically, it was been a long time. We're going to get lost amongst the stacks on this sweltering day, but I want to reintroduce my guest. He's back, baby. Sir Vernacular Spectacular himself, Davis Peck. Welcome back, Davis.
Well, I would say it was good to be back, but had you read my rider, I would not share any time with Roger Sterling.
Before we move on, this is an episode that celebrates a big milestone in this podcast, and we officially recorded and uploaded 50 episodes. For this podcast, it's kind of been a saturated medium of expression. I think it's pretty impressive, honestly. Let's just toot our own horns a little bit. May the 50 and 50 times more come. Toot, toot, motherfucker.
Pull my finger.
I did do that earlier today on Chucky D, and he did not know what to do. The youth are sometimes a problem.
Well, the kids are not all right.
Secondly, since this is the 50th, I wanted to ask a guest that listens to many of the podcasts and also has been on there plenty of times to suggest a topic that, we wanted to discuss. When you suggested old Dougie A here, I was a little skeptical at first, right? Not because I didn't think that this would be an appropriate person to cover. I had him on my list when we originally thought about this podcast, honestly. Quite frankly, I was a little bashful with this person because the Hitchhiker series was something we both loved reading. And I found it at the right time in my life for it to be impactful the way it was. When I did some digging into his life and work, I concluded that we can actually discuss his life and works adequately within one episode. I did not, with a capital N-O-T, want to get into another series after ending a 5-parter on Jack London, which took a lot of my life, frankly, and really put me back as somebody who has, working a full-time job, writing half professionally and doing all sorts of other fucking shit, as well as being a parent. Go listen to the Jack London if you haven't, because, if it takes a lot of my time, you should take a lot of your time, and it's a good summer listen to. And a good fall, good winter, good stick season, good mud season, good spring season that only happens about 2 weeks up here. I can't quite commit to sending out episodes on a regular basis while being a good father and a good husband, a good pet owner, and a full-time job, working on my personal stuff and keeping with the house, exercise, eat, drink, shit, and all the other things that humans do to live. Summarily, I think we can discuss Douglas here and give him justice because it's our fucking episode, isn't it, Davis?
That it is.
Because it's our God-given right as Americans. Yeehaw, motherfucker. That should scare away at least half the listeners right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good Vermonter right there. Third, I think you might notice that you have your new honorific, right?
I haven't gotten that far yet.
No, you haven't been listening much. It's the opinion that anybody who is a guest after 10 episodes receives their MBE.
Ooh, I'll take that.
Subsequently knighted. And you've actually read, for the first time you've done your homework.
First time, long time.
I know, right? The only other person who has got their Master of Baiting exercises is Sir Andrew Kenny, which I will absolutely not go with his honorific because if you've listened to those episodes, the running gag.
Solipsists unite.
Yeah. So, do you know anything about Sir Douglas Adams? He's not a sir. He's just Douglas Adams.
Just that he was a writer and humorist from the 80s and early 90s.
All right, we're gonna get through this because it's a lot. It's a lot
Ooh.
less than you expect too. On the top of it, honestly, Douglas Noel Adams was born on the 11th of March in the year of 1952. He was born in the town of Cambridge in the United Kingdom, home of the Blood and Sand, the rugby club, who unfortunately have been relegated from the championship to the National One, and less importantly in general, but more importantly to our story, the second most famous town named Cambridge that also hosts an elitist tertiary academic institution. Him born in Cambridge, you'd expect his parents were somehow connected to the university, right? And they were, at least on his father's side. His father studied there, and I believe at that time, at Douglas's birth, had graduated at that point and was working as a management consultant and computer salesman. His father was also a probationary officer at one point, working with the no-nos. He did what we do, and we did, and stuck around the town that he went to do his collegiate studies, right? His paternal grandfather was a Glaswegian doctor, and this side of the family actually came from a long line of distinguished, respectable doctors. Respectable is actually what I wrote.
By spectacled doctors.
Some of them maybe, yes. I don't know, actually, by spectacle or spectacle, but at least a few of them were wearing glasses. And that shout out to the 3 Scottish listeners. And yes, you were great in Boston. Now I hope you replicate it in 2031 with the Rugby World Cup. This is a shout out when I wrote this episode 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, right? His mother, Janet Dora Sidney Adams Need Donovan, was a nurse, so perfectly capable and intelligent person herself. The family moved to the East End of London in the 1950s, and it happened shortly after Douglas was born, but before the birth of his sister Susan in the spring of 1955. We chatted about the East End of London in our Jack London episodes itself, so feel free to listen to all those parts, but particularly the third part if you want to learn more about the subject. Somehow, Dougie here missed picking up the Cockney accent, which the East Enders are very famous for. Not all was rose-flavored water and champagne glasses in the Addams family. Nah. The thing is that, like, the Douglas fathers and mothers' relationship featured then lurched to a scream halt by the time he was 5. And unfortunately for Doug, the thing didn't last, and Douglas would have to spend his Wednesdays in different households. That, the only Addams family reference that we'll have for now, but I digress. Douglas, his sister, and his mother would move to the town of Brentwood in Essex, where they found a home in a Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or the RSPCA shelter, which I didn't know you could do.
No.
At that point, you could probably live in an animal shelter, and that being the 1950s, Davis, there's no way this wasn't a kill shelter, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, that's a thing. Both parents would remarry, and Dougie Boy would have several half-sisters, half-brothers, half-siblings, both sides, right? But they aren't important to the story, so sorry, guys.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah. What is important is that he attended the Primrose Hill Primary School, or Primary School in Brentwood. Now, I was educated in the U.S. of motherfucking A, so I do not fully grasp the English educational system. Do you understand anything about it at all?
Their private schools are public and their public schools are private, and that's all I got.
He went to Brentwood School for the majority of his education. Confusingly, Brentwood School follows the public school tradition. This is a fee-charging private school that is public in the context that pupils can attend regardless of their parental or paternal trade profession, religious denomination, or where they live. Right?
Ah.
I don't know. Like you went to a Catholic school for college, right? We went together. I went to Catholic school all my life. There was never been a time where anybody who couldn't like attend that school, cause, I mean, I feel like it's because of the United States, but like apparently in Britain, you know, like you can have private schools where if you're not, I don't know, specifically Anglican, you can't attend, which is actually nuts. I don't know if it's the same anymore, but like that seems like the written in between the lines here, right? Yeah. Brentwood is one of those elitist boarding schools too, Davis, right?
Oh.
He was an awkward kid and self-conscious
Wait,
of his
was
height.
it DEI hire?
No, he wasn't, but, that we'll get to that. I mean, he wasn't the most elite in elite, definitely not. That's not, like, fair to say that he was, like, up. He was firmly middle class to upper middle class, but he was never the elite, right? He was an awkward kid and self-conscious of his height. By the time he was 12, he was 6 feet tall. Too bad they don't play a lot of basketball in Britain, right? That's usually the joke we have in the United States. Hardy, har, har, lols. Keck.
But how many stones was he?
He'd be a gangly 6'5" by the time he was a fully grown human being. Brentwood is also where he began writing and was always a good writer basically from the start. He was the only person in his class to receive a full 10 out of 10 in his creative writing classes. He had some works published in his high school paper, which is honestly something that just doesn't exist anymore. Did you have a high school paper?
Yeah, it came out once a semester, and it was just a vanity project for the school student government.
In my high school, we had like a media club that did live morning announcements via television screens, in which like every homeroom had a television, right? But the first time that I went to an institution that publicly published publicly a physical copy of writing was in college. And honestly, like, I think that's most people's experience at this point. I mean, that's how most people get published now, too.
Mm-hmm.
Merit was an afterthought, of course, in my school and most places. But him going to Brentwood, he got published several times, and it seemed like, he did a good job. You want to guess the name of the actual fucking newspaper?
The Brentwood Primrose Path.
It's worse. It's the Brentwoodtonian.
Oh.
The Brentwoodian. Jesus, even worse. It's not even the Brentwoodtonian. Wow.
Thank God we left when we had the chance.
And then again, he published several times in something called The Eagle. Both were pretty unoriginal and terrible names.
Yeah, but one's a good, honest American paper.
I'm glad that you said that and not me. He also wrote poetry in one work called Tramp's, I think it's called Early View. Tramp's Evie View was written down, so I might have miswrote that. It is apparently stored in the University of Cambridge, but honestly, fuck you if you're not a Cambridge student and you want to look up this through a search engine, because of course they're gatekeeping the shit right there. So,
yeah, where's Aaron Schwartz when you need him?
Still, it's significant that he began writing comedy at a young age, because that's exactly what he did. Growing up in the 1960s in Britain, there was no shortage of absurdist comedic programs on the BBC, and his favorite was none other than the work performed by the comedy troupe Monty Python. Yeah. He loved John Cleese's work specifically on a different show called The Frost Report, which,
of Frost Nixon fame,
is equally as responsible to Richard Nixon's downfall as David Frost. Yeah. It's not a Frost Nixon fame. It's very different, but it's it's good that you picked that one up as well. You can find clips on these. I found them mostly on TikTok and Facebook.
Okay.
I couldn't find them on YouTube much. It's a clear predecessor of Flying Circus, but we're a little less absurd and a little ahead of ourselves here. Dougie A. also loved Doctor Who, which, after I learned that, it also felt so obvious the influences of the time-traveling TARDIS and the adventures of Arthur Dent and Ford Prefect got into, right?
There's a real one-to-one there.
Yeah, and then the absurdist humor that we're going to talk about a little bit more, but I don't know, Davis, how do you experience that?
Well, I mean, just the out-of-time, out-of-place nature is exactly like Doctor Who, particularly back before the days of readily available effects. You need to take something that's incredibly common and turn it into something incredibly uncommon. I guess it's about the crossover.
To shoehorn some more influences, because I didn't know where else to put it.
Which Doctor was he a fan of?
I don't watch Doctor Who. I understand it's a really important British show, but like, think early 64, 65, and then we'll get to the next one. All right. I'm going to also shoehorn this right here that like his other influences for writing was P.J. Woodhouse, I believe it's how it's pronounced, which we'll get a series because he's pretty awesome.
Okay.
Great 20th century British humorist. And Kurt Vonnegut, like another, I love Vonnegut work.
Yep, checks out.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been compared to Vonnegut multiple times, and he's been like, absolutely not. Like, I do not compare myself to him. I'm not Kurt Vonnegut, which like is a humble, thing for him to do, but it's also kind of true. He's not Kurt Vonnegut.
No, he is not Kurt Vonnegut.
No. And as well as he loved classical writers. Jane Austen is somebody who he loved. So, he studied English literature, which we're going to get to. Adams was also a big fan of music, specifically the music he grew up with. Honestly, Davis, I know that the 60s, Great Britain, had a lot of hardships, right? But the art coming out of this tiny island in this specific time is so influential to this day. It's difficult to over-exaggerate its significance, right? It must have been something special being an English kid in the 1960s with how art, comedy, and music was changing the world drastically. Specifically, he loved the Beatles. I don't think that's hard to believe. So much so, he was awarded a scholarship to study English at St. John's College in Cambridge based on an English essay he wrote that compared the Beatles to the poet William Blake.
That's a hell of a pedestal to put the Beatles on.
Yeah, and when it comes down to the actual lyricism, sure.
Well, and just inherent patriotism and nationalism involved.
That too. William Blake is Sir William Blake. I don't know. Actually, it's still McCartney. Did John Lennon ever get his knighthood?
I don't know.
He might have got shot before. Sorry, and I don't know if Ringo Starr got his, but
no, I think George Carlin got Ringo's knighthood.
Fair enough. Douglas Adams entered Cambridge University to study English literature in 1971. But his focus wasn't on writing or the study of England's poets and authors, though that's what he was studying, right? Instead, Douglas followed his passion.
Math.
He decided he wanted to get into comedy. Specifically, he wanted to get into sketch comedy. Adams pursued his interest by being selected to join the invitational comedy troupe called the Cambridge Footlights, or just Footlights for short, which is started around 1883, right? Or I think that's exactly the date. He joined because he wanted to follow the footsteps of Monty Python, where three members, Graham Chapman, Eric Idle, and the previously mentioned John Cleese, all were members when they attended Cambridge. We have to do side notes here a little bit because the other two British board members, Terry Jones and Michael Palin, attended Oxford University, which means that the comedy troupe literally represented the academic elite of Britain, right? Like, we love, we're going to talk about Monty Python here quite a bit, honestly, from here on in. But, you're talking about two fucking fans here, right?
Yep.
Meanwhile, do you know where Terry Gilliam's from?
I know he's American. I think he came out of the animation scene.
Occidental College, the small liberal arts college in Los Angeles specifically. He was actually a Midwesterner for birth. I believe it was Minnesota, but I could be wrong, and somebody could be screaming from Wisconsin, and I just didn't write that down.
Yeah, he's kind of got that Tim Walz face.
Yeah, right. He is a Midwesterner, but he went to Los Angeles because he wanted to get close to realistically where he could probably make a buck off of what he wants to do. Now, we're going to go off a tangent here. And here I made a joke about how liberal arts colleges should be salvaged because it produced somebody like Terry Gilliam. But in all seriousness, my alternative motives not aside, but in the forefront, Occidental has some of the most prestigious attendees that I've seen, albeit not all of them graduated. President Barack Obama spent his freshman and sophomore years there.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Affleck attended before he dropped out. Only time in history where I will mention Ben Affleck, Terry Gilliam, and Barack Obama in the same sentence and being compared. And hilariously enough, only one of them graduated from this institution. That being said,
it's Terry Gilliam.
It's Terry Gilliam. Barack did graduate from college. Ben Affleck did. And obviously, Barack went, I think that was Columbia. Anyways, liberal arts colleges are in serious decline of the United States of motherfucking A, because the collegiate system has structured and self-cannibalized itself with the constant need of expansion and modernization, and the rhetoric of only STEM degrees make money for the school and for people, and thereby perpetuating a cycle of investing only in colleges with STEM programs in an attempt to make future endowment more profitable. It hasn't fucking worked, obviously, because those colleges are also struggling. Now students are finding that those STEM jobs are saturated, and the work tech world is specifically being destroyed because of easier AI jobs, destroying AI. All of that, not digressing. Davis, you want to guess how many fucking colleges has shut down or merged since 2018 in the state of Vermont?
15.
You're too high. 9, which is nuts. Nuts for this.
9 out of what?
Probably
20,
like
18?
like 23. Yeah, it's nuts. Just off the top of my head, right? Like Goddard College, fucking Vermont Technical College, Linden,
Green Mountain,
Castleton, and Linden all merged. Green Mountain shut down.
I think Marlboro's closing.
Marlboro's closing. Fucking, we said Goddard. What's the Sterling College is shut down. Vermont College of Fine Arts has shut down. And, like, these are all important academic institutions, period. I mean, like, some are better than others, but, like, once tertiary colleges start shutting down across the country, things are starting to fucking freak out. And our alma mater is about to shut down, unfortunately. So there's also that.
Ooh, I got to get those transferred.
I know, right? Same. Well, I mean, I need to figure it out for the MFA, but, yeah. We digress.
I'd say make them all trade schools, but that's part of the problem.
Yeah, that's part of the I mean, like, fucking small liberal arts colleges have absolutely 100% provided a resource or provided so much to this country. It's, like, crazy that, like, we're fucking fighting for them to stay around. And, like, not everybody can go to the University of Virginia, University of Maryland, right? Like, that's not good for them mentally, right? The University of Vermont, obviously, but, like, I'm just, pointing that one out. We digress. 1971 was also the year where Douglas Adams would take a trip to Innsbruck, Austria.
Oh.
As many people are wont to do in 18 and traveling, Douglas Adams got fucking hammered. Absolutely shit-faced.
Walked into the wrong Oktoberfest party?
Laid down on some grass, gazed at the stars. In his arms, he held The Hitchhiker's Guide to Europe. An idea popped in his head that somebody should write A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This idea would rest in his head for a decade before it manifested itself into something concrete. But we're definitely getting ahead of ourselves here, right? From my interpretation, Doug wasn't fond of the culture at Footlights that much. They didn't take themselves seriously enough in the sense that many people didn't want to put in the hard work to make sketches, and many were emotionally detached from both comedy and other members of the club. He was one of those people who went to college, saw a club. The club wasn't being 100% serious because it's fucking 19-year-olds, right? Fair enough. I get it. Still, he remained and found like-minded members that he vibed with and wrote and performed sketches regularly that he kind of detached himself with. At Footlights, he met another student with the last name Adams, no relation, and another named Smith, definitely no relation, and they cleverly named themselves Adam Smith Adams. In 1974, his work with the troupe would heavily feature in Footlights' comedic shows, which they called Chalks for some reason. I don't know what Chalks means. I'll try to look it up. It's really silly. To Douglas's disappointment, he was not selected actually to perform any of the skits he wrote. He apparently was not a very good actor, which would be for the rest of his life, right? Do you know any skits? Have you've seen anything with him?
I'd watched his TED Talk like right before he died, but that was the only performance I've seen of Douglas Adams.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it because it's not a TED Talk, but that is how we conclude this episode, so spoilers. He even got an interview with his idol. No, not Eric. In fact, it was John Cleese. who he interviewed for the students' newspaper Varsity, which I'm sure helped get a foot into the sketch comedy world post-graduation. Another fucking stupid name, Varsity. I'm sorry. He was pretty average student, or below average a little bit, graduating in 1974 with an English degree with a 2:2, which means just 2:2, I think, which means he was the lower second class honors, or what is referred as a Desmond or Desmond Tutu, which refers back to a South African Anglican bishop, because of course it is. The British have a different sense of humor. There's no relation but to this, thing, but like the more I learn about English educational system, the less I question the American one. Frankly, I'm more certain than ever that the U.S. students take tests that they're kind of supposed to pass in some ways, because a 2:2 typically means that your grades are between 50 to 59%. The first class honors is 70% or higher.
Yep.
I just want to be blatant about this. In the United States, if you get a 70, you get lower than a 70, you fail. Like, that is how our system works.
Yeah, grade inflation is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, there definitely is that fucking grading on a curve at times, but like, that being said, I've also been in plenty of fucking places that they don't. Like, they fucking just fail the students. And not to diminish like a British educational system here, because I've also seen that like something like the last 10 years, more than like 80 to 90% of people are in first class honors, which might be a change of the British educational system itself, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't really get like it, and I'm not going to say that America's is better, because it's fucking probably not. Yeah. How do you feel about American British educational systems?
I feel like if you have a more overtly stratified society, you need more mechanisms to overtly stratify it. I do have to imagine there is a greater gulf in the quality of education between different coursework than there is here.
I mean, I would argue that there are definitely certain degrees and certain, practices where it would make more sense for me, where you can definitely pass with a 50 or 60%. And that's why we have those like grading on a curve in the United States. There are also certain courses where you shouldn't have to do that at all.
But, no, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. That's...
But, and I guess another thing is, in order to get scores where the average for the student body is a 60, you need to ask a fair amount of questions that people don't know, which by definition means they have to be harder questions.
Yeah, that was kind of what my vibe my understanding when I read that. Like, well, there's the questions that they're asking must be at a level where it's much, much more strenuous, because, again, going back to what I said, you're supposed to pass in the United States. Yeah. As many young, ambitious writers chasing a dream do, Douglas Adams moved to London to break into comedy, right? He wanted to get into comedy, television, and maybe radio as a writer in the July of 1974. The same year he graduated, and shortly afterwards, he was attending a party after Chalks, his comedy troupe from college, performed on stage in London. This party celebrated the opening night performance at the West End Theatre. I believe this was sponsored by Footlights itself, because it attracted a rather important audience member and alumnus of both Cambridge and Footlights itself. Enter Graham Chapman, stage center.
Brian himself.
The two met, and Chapman was impressed with Adams's work. As fate would have it, Graham was looking for a new writing partner, as John Cleese had recently quit Monty Python's Flying Circus to pursue other pursuits, right? When you think about it, it almost makes perfect sense that Chapman chose Adams, as they were both familiar with his sense of humor, if you read any of his works, and he was also just as tall as John Cleese.
Yep. So Chapman had a type.
He did. They became writing partners, and he began to write for him, albeit in a very small capacity, for the infamous fourth season of Monty Python's Flying Circus. Now, There are audience members who are not familiar with Flying Circus, and if you aren't, please go watch some of these episodes. I think the first 3 seasons are all available on YouTube. As a brief description, here's a sentence that I found on Wikipedia that explains the type of comedy that it was from my research, and much more standard in the late 60s and throughout the 70s in general, of which Monty Python went through, 1969 and 1974. And as a fan, I think this just is very succinct. Quote, "The series stands out for its use of absurd situations mixed with risque and innuendo-laden humor, sight gags, and observational sketches without punchlines." Unquote. Right,
Well,
Davis?
That's pretty accurate.
I couldn't believe how accurate that was, and went, yeah, I don't need it to look into very much more. Those who are listening that are Monty Python fans will know that the show floundered after John Cleese's departure, primarily because Monty Python did not want to make a complete 4th season, right? The cast was like, we're just going to do half a season. They agreed on it, yada, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't the lack of creativity, but that, the undeniable charisma that John Cleese did bring, and also them all being exhausted of itself. Douglas Adams, it's also by far the worst season, right?
It turns out the alarm clock with John Cleese's as well.
Yeah. And retrospective hindsight 2030, right? Douglas Adams would appear mostly as a background character in 2 skits, and he wrote a couple times. He also got a writing credit for a black humor sketch he co-wrote with Graham Chapman. The sketch is called Patient Abuse.
Okay.
Here's the description. I've seen this before. You can't find it anymore on YouTube because it's kind of very dark. And here's the description on montypython.fandom.com. Quote, "A man, played by Terry Jones, rushes into a doctor's office, blood gushing from his gut. The doctor, Graham Chapman, barely reacted to the blood, blandly asks what the problem is, to which the man responds staggeringly that the wound was caused by the nurse stabbing him in the chest. The doctor tells the man that he has to fill out paperwork before he can do anything. With his blood still spilling to the floor, the man attempts to fill out the paperwork, while the doctor decries that the difficulties of paperwork and bureaucracy. Straining to the floor, the man hands the doctor his blood-soaked paperwork, which the doctor proceeds to criticize. Surely, you know number 4, it's from the Merchant of Venice. Even I knew that. The sketch ends with the nurse, played by Carol Cleveland, coming in with a bloody saber, implying that she has just stabbed the last waiting patient. The doctor and the nurse decide to pop out for a bit of lunch, leaving the dying patient with a second form and the promise of some morphine if he gets at least the questions about history right." Unquote.
It's pretty prescient.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that this is the British, NHS, but then again, why would I be surprised? This is very American, I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
Very American. 1974 should have been Douglas Adams's breakout year. Shortly after his stint with Monty Python, he co-wrote a sci-fi comedy script with Graham Chapman. This was supposed to be none other than Ringo Starr's breakout into television.
Oh.
It was rejected wholeheartedly by every major U.S. network. The cast of Monty Python also agreed that they would shorten the 4th season. We've already discussed that. He also submitted story plots for his favorite show, Doctor Who, but they were also rejected at this point. However, he was hired later on for a couple of scripts for Doctor Who, which we'll talk about.
Okay.
He was trying to write, right? He's taking odd jobs right after college. He's 22 at
Yeah,
this
no, he's
point.
still a kid.
He is a child. Relatable, right? The timeline after Monty Python's a little fuzzy, and I think these events actually run concurrently a little bit here. I'm going to quote again from a biography that ended up in an early edition from Hitchhiker's Guide. Quote, "After graduation, he spent several years contributing material to radio and television shows, as well as writing, performing, and sometimes directing stage reviews in London, Cambridge, and the Edinburgh Fringe. Edinburgh. I'm sorry, Edinburgh. I love your rugby team." Shout out to the Scotsman.
Let's go Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. He was also working at various times as a hospital porter, barn builder, chicken shed cleaner, bodyguard, radio producer, and script editor of Doctor Who. Adams held the job as a bodyguard in the mid-1970s. He was employed by a Qatar or Qatar Arab family who had made its fortune in oil.
Ooh.
He had a couple of favorite anecdotes about the job. One story he related that the family once ordered one of everything from a hotel's menu, tried all the dishes, and sent out for hamburgers. Another story had to do with a prostitute sent to the floor Adams was guarding one evening. They acknowledged each other as she entered, and an hour later, when she left, she is said to have remarked, "At least you can read while you're on the job." Unquote. I know, right? That last one I don't believe as much, but that sounds like an Adams quote. Still great. Pithy, pithy, pithy. The year is now 1977. Adams is beginning to get disillusioned, even though he is only 25 years old. His professional relationship with Chapman ended abruptly as Chapman's drinking got out of hand. His alcoholism was a well-known fact. For example, during the Bridge of Death scene in the Holy Grail, he was like too hungover to cross the rope bridge, right? And it actually is one of the reasons why Cleese cited their inability to work together.
Yeah, that's why Monty Python broke up.
Yeah, one of the reasons, right? We're not going to get into like the Monty Python lore too much here, but like Cleese said this, like fucking Graham said that like John Cleese was kind of a homophobe, and because Graham was openly gay during the AIDS crisis. Cleese denies this. It's a whole thing. Look up the biographies and for them themselves. Like, I'm willing to kind of believe all of them, but like then again, like you don't know until you actually meet people, and like.
Yeah, I mean, none of them are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. Believe is one thing. I'm just like willing to hear it out. It's 1970s and 80s, right? Even though things were shaping out as they weren't supposed to be planned, Adams continued to submit his work. A keen listener may have picked up that he worked in radio, and unfortunately, or fortunately for Adams, depending how you view it, versus his dream of making it as a television actor, he had the face and body language for radio. His first solo work and breakthrough was through the BBC4 radio show called The Burkiss Way. It was a half-hour sketch comedy show in the same absurdist vein as Monty Python that parodied educational programs and spoofed scientific discoveries. Created and written by Andrew Marshall and David Renwick, Adams was one of the several additional contributors who wrote some of the half-hour episodes. And if you listen to some of the podcasts that come out nowadays from BBC, like Yatsik has shown me a couple times, it's very much in the same vein, dude. Yeah. Things don't change.
Well, I'm just having a hard time imagining the mackerel sketch going over on an audio medium.
I mean, it's one of those things where they just like freaking absolutely describe every single detail, everything, right? By the end of 1977, he considered moving to Hong Kong and starting a new life, making money off of what could be described as British imperialism, right? Before he could hop on a plane, a producer of BBC4 approached Douglas Adams to create his own radio podcast or broadcast. Sorry, that was almost a Freudian slip or Jungian slip or something of the sort. This is when Dougie A pulled inspiration out of that fateful drunken night in Innisbrook. He began writing the radio series, abandoned the anthological approach to focusing on just a handful of main characters without an overarching plot. And yes, we're talking about the radio series of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It would take months before this would actually be recorded and like actually be broadcasted. And during this time, he was writing for Doctor Who. They were really impressed with his plot lines after he sent it out, and they wanted him to expand on it. While he was writing the radio series that would ultimately be his claim to fame, he would actually be like writing arguably for one of the most well-known series of all time, right? Like, I'm not a big Doctor Who fan. I've seen a couple of episodes, but I mean, people love Doctor Who.
You can't argue with its reach.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense, because even all the, it's hard to say plot with Hitchhiker's Guide, but all the arcs do sort of seem to fit a nice half-hour, 45-minute trajectory.
Talking about that half-hour arc and half-hour plot, the first radio broadcast of Hitchhikers occurred on March 8th of 1978. He was heavily involved also in post-production, and though this is not an audio, this is an audio medium, right? An audiophile can tell that my editing and post-production skills are generously limited. Suffice it to say that he was some sort of post-productive, like, genius in some ways, because, like, according to, like, some of the sources I had, they were, like, groundbreaking at the time. He was very involved. He really, really wanted to, like, have this sci-fi show sound the same way as a television show on the radio, which he was able to do. The show became the talk of the town, literally. It grew in popularity not from advertisements or being a primetime show, but, like, it grew from word of mouth, like, organically. Davis, when I texted you this radio series, I said that Adams did a Rick and Morty before Rick and Morty, right? This is definitely reductive, but, like, for the American mind, the similarities are striking. Both are sci-fi shows revolving a few main characters that are created episode by episode rather than having a real overarching storyline, and grew popular because you heard them from your friends. That's where I learned Rick and Morty from. Like, nowadays they're fucking on HBO Max or whatever. But, like, the first episode I saw, like,
it was all word of mouth. You got to check out this crazy show I just found.
Yeah, absolutely insane. The main difference is that, like, the absurdist humor in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right, is a shit ton more cheekier and a lot less depressing. Because the first episode I found was the Cronenberg episode, and that was
pretty dark.
Pretty dark. But, like, I've never laughed so hard and felt so scared in my life of watching a show. I was like, okay, well, there's something here. Like, there's actually something here. That said, Davis, did you have a chance to actually listen to the series?
No, and in fact, I didn't put together that it was a radio show until just now.
It's very similar overall, right? It's apparent to me how much he copied his own work, which is A-okay, right? It worked so well on both radio and also in novel form and television form, which, you know, it did become a television series in 1981 and then adopted to a mediocre film posthumously, unfortunately, right? Have you seen that?
Yeah, it was not nearly the same caliber as the book, but I think it did a good job of piquing people's interest.
Fair enough. I would say that's the same. I wish they, like, did a little bit more craziness because, I don't know. It was, like, in the early 2000s. Like, it was probably appropriate at the time. I mean, who knows, right? Like, nowadays, like, if somebody makes a Hitchhiker's Guide series on HBO, let's say, like, they would probably... Some freaking kid who's never read it before, like, who's 18, would claim that it's just ripping off Rick and Morty.
But that's kind of the beauty of it, though. Like, yeah, I want more craziness, but you can't really pigeonhole too much more craziness into it. The premise is ridiculous, and it's all extenuations of the premise and not like a giant creature feature or a look at this whole new world. It's, nope, these are just normal people you meet, like... a little caricatured, a little extra banal, and just they're interacting in space.
I mean, it's perfect because, like, what you said is, for example, right, like, have him taking his own ideas and what you just said. The very first example of the very first episode of the series revolves around Earth needing to be destroyed in order for a massive galactic highway to be built. That is the premise of the first chapter of the first book, right? Because of needing it to be destroyed, he knew, Douglas Adams specifically, that his main character, Arthur Dent, needed some kind of supporting character that was an alien. And that's where he ended up creating Ford Prefect. I keep my mind keeps thinking perfect. It's Ford Prefect.
Yeah, it's Ford Prefect.
Yeah, and this is where I probably should get checked for I don't know, some sort of reading tests. 31 is never too late, especially since I'm 33. Adams was a busy bee. He struggled with timelines all his life, and right now he was the busiest he's ever been. And he knew he wouldn't be able to finish the last 2 episodes on time at this point, right, of his first season over the radio. So either he hired somebody who was going to be a contributor, or he wasn't. But he ended up hiring somebody from the Burkiss way, a man named John Lloyd, to write the last 2 episodes specifically of the radio series. I was able to find most, if not all, of the radio series. Just literally Google Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy radio series and include Reddit, and you'll find it, right? They'll get the links out there. Now,
does it follow a similar chronology to the book?
Not all of them.
Or books, as the case may be.
Yeah, they're definitely very similar tenor. But Davis, if you haven't got a chance to listen to it, I would recommend just having to pop up. I've only listened to 1 or 2 episodes in total, realistically. Just haven't had a chance.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could always do some of that Vogan poetry again.
You should.
Here's looking at you, Delante.
Yeah, well, the next couple of series I think I might do is, not series, but episodes are poets. So guess what, Davis? You're listening to some more poetry.
Yay.
Within 5 months after the first episode, the book rights were sold. Right? It was sold to a company called Pan Books. Besides the fact that one company can simply just purchase the book rights off the BBC, which is most likely government funded from taxes, which is insane to me. Pan Books was an unusual book publisher to pick up the series. The publisher probably usual, actually, now that I'm going to describe this. I first said unusual, but at the time, they actually kind of made their stripes at this point. The publisher was one of the few, and not the only, pioneer in paperback fiction post-World War II. It might rattle the listeners' brains a little to consider this, but paperback novels were only first developed and published in the 1930s. That means that they're under 100 years old. There are people out there living that are younger than paperback novels. Or older than paperback novels. Definitely younger, obviously. Prior to this, you could get only novels in serial form in magazines, in anthologies, or hardcovers effectively. It wasn't until the 50s did the paperback become popular, and Pan Books was one of those reasons.
So they're responsible for Quentin Tarantino?
They're definitely no, because those are not paperbacks per se. You're thinking about Pulp Fiction, which is beforehand. We discussed Pulp Fiction with Big Mac or Book Mac Daddy himself a little bit with the Gertrude Barrows Bennett episode. So listen to that. Yeah, they specialized in publishing classic novels such as Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, to make these more physically accessible to the public. But that's the one thing that paperbacks really do justice to the world. I know they're probably not the best environmentally due to the fact that they destroy trees, but as somebody who lives literally with more trees than anybody else per capita, whatever. Also, you can make paperback novels via hemp, which most people are trying to do now. Well, not most. A lot of people are trying to do now, which is better for the environment.
And they're a whole lot easier for Anthropic to crack open.
I mean, also, it smells better. They also purchased the rights and published contemporary huge authors as well at the time. The 50s, we're talking about Agatha Christie, which we talked about. My favorite author, John Steinbeck, which was, kind of criticized for becoming a paperback, but he became a fucking Nobel laureate because of this. Lastly, well, not because of this, obviously, but his reach became huge because of this. Lastly, he also published new authors at the time, right? Not he, the Pan Books, excuse me, which was considered genre fiction, which was evolving. You want to guess who was the biggest British author at the time, 1950s and 60s?
Tolkien.
No, this is post-Tolkien. British spy.
Oh, Fleming.
Yes, Ian Fleming, absolutely. Created James Bond, right? Pan Books could not have found a better fit than Ian Fleming, and could not have been a better fit than any other publisher than Hitchhiker's Guide could have asked for, right? They were known for the ease of mass production, their colorful and striking covers, and their willingness to take risks, which is exactly what Hitchhikers is, right?
Absolutely.
Pan Books is now owned by Macmillan, but wanted to highlight their achievements as well here. And I'm sure that if you are a bookworm like me, you probably own a Pan book, right? When Adams was approached to write the book, he originally wanted to co-write the novel with John Lloyd, excuse me. Shout out to somebody I just Freudian slipped there. However, he rescinded his offer. John Lloyd's lawyer told him to get 10% of everything in the name of Hitchhikers on it. He chose to split the £3,000 advance instead. This would kind of tarnish or hurt their personal and professional relationship. They would have one book written afterwards.
As one can imagine.
Jesus Christ. That's one of those what ifs in your life, right? Because Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the novel, was a smashing success almost instantly. It was first published in the United Kingdom on the 12th of October in 1979 and became an absolutely instant bestseller. It's like hard to describe this. It was on its second week alone, it topped the charts of the books in Britain, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like song singles. Like usually it takes a couple of weeks to months for a book to the top.
So like did it I mean it's probably with the radio series at first, but did it like make its first get known in like specific subcultures, or did it have like true cross market appeal?
No, it because of the word of mouth for Britain. Yeah, like people were buying it because of it, right? Like I don't know, it's hard to do a one-on-one on this right now, right? Most things in the United States, you buy the movie version after the novel because people like it. It's kind of the inverse, and frankly, like the best one-to-one comparison I can think of is if you have a podcaster who writes books afterwards, and you buy the books for the podcaster. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Right?
A little Mike Duncan action.
Yeah, exactly. You know, do you have a Mike Duncan book? I do. Like I've got two of his books, both of them, actually. Yeah,
all two of them.
I mean, he's a great writer.
No, he's a great writer.
I've enjoyed both of them. Yeah, yeah, dude. Lafayette, real American hero because he's French. Yeah, no, but it's also absurd that I mean, again, like comparing him to Mike Duncan. I mean, it's actually a very apt comparison. In the first 3 months, it sold 250,000 copies. Sorry, Mike
Jesus.
Duncan. Yeah, no, he didn't do that. Harmony Books, a division of Random House, purchased the rights to publish in the United States of motherfucking America, which it was published in hardcover of October of 1980 and then published in paperback a few months later in the early months of 1981. To ensure its success in the United States, Random House teamed up with Rolling Stone magazines for a giveaway of 3,000 free copies, which helped build up the word of mouth again. Like, that's the thing. Like, it wasn't popular in the United States at all. Like, of course it wasn't. Why would it be, right? Like, Doctor Who is not fucking that popular.
Doctor Who does not play well in America.
At all, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how Star Trek plays in England or Britain in general, but, like, you know, like, it's one of those things where, like, the reason why I've only watched 2 Doctor Who episodes is because some college friend showed it to me, and, like, I liked it. It's
but there's a reason why you only watched 2 of them.
Yeah, right? Like, it makes sense, but I've watched far more Star Trek. Oh. And off Douglas Adams and his readers went on an absurdist journey throughout the universe.
Wait, so is this kind of like a Velvet Underground scenario? Like, only 3,000 people bought copies, but those 3,000 people went on to read them on every street corner?
Absolutely not. Because he's going to sell millions. The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, which is the second installment of the inadequately named trilogy, came out the year afterwards. Restaurant was published in October of 1980 and to similar success to the predecessor or initially, right? Of course, this being a trilogy, if not poorly named, there would at least be a third book. Life, the Universe, and Everything was published in August of 1982 initially. It's difficult to overstate the influence and critical reception of these three novels. We will focus on how these three influenced people, both the humanity's benefit and the detriment, but let's place a number on how influential these books are right now because we have to. Now, I've seen sources that the entire series sold somewhere between like 15 to 16 million copies, and like Hitchhiker's
Jesus.
Guide alone was 14 millions, but like I don't believe that's accurate, honestly. Because, like, honestly, that would mean that the entire 5 other books only sold 1 to 2 million, which is huge, right? That's not fucking insane.
I mean, just based on people's fluency with it, I could believe it.
I mean, I'm also, like, willing to believe, based off of what I've seen in used bookstores, that's not true. Because HHGG, like, is not as prevalent as the other ones. But then again, like, you know, you would expect all of them, or at least if it's 14 million copies, Hitchhiker's being the most prevalent, but it's from at least around here and what I've seen in Jersey, and like it's not like just a ubiquitous book. It's actually pretty rare to get.
Yeah, my copy was all 4 bound together, which I actually got at a used bookstore down in Middlebury.
It's 6 now, right? Too, on top of everything else. Like, yeah, which we'll get to why it's 6 too. It should just be 5, but it's 6. Whatever. I'm not going to say it should just be 5. The 6th one is true to its form. Now, there are 3 more installments of the series of the inadequately named trilogy. Right? It should be a double trilogy, but whatever. I'm not going to fucking argue with Douglas Adams' wishes here. But we're going to stop to discuss the best known books of the saga. Right? If you are not familiar with the plot of the inside jokes that come out of the series, I won't spoil too much of them. All the books are relatively short reads. They're very easy, though they're dense, right? Like, it'll take you a little bit to read the 150 pages of The Hitchhiker's Guide. Honestly, it took me a little bit, but it's really fun. It's just an enjoyment.
That was more spelling issues than anything else.
There are a couple of 100 pages at most, like 200. They're action-packed, with absurdist comedy being heavily plot-driven, and candidly surmising the plot for any of these works would take about 10 minutes on its own, honestly. So I will just strongly encourage you to read all of them. If you haven't, then a couple of spoilers I will add here right now. If you see anybody making an inside joke involving the number 42, then they are almost certainly referencing the first novel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which Douglas Adams himself admits that it's simply a number he fucking liked, and the joke revolving around it does not have any fucking further meaning, right? 42 being the number to the answer of the ultimate question of the life, universe, and everything. But we have to learn what that actual question is, right? We don't ever learn that.
No.
Spoiler, right?
That's what Earth was for.
That's, yeah. The biggest personal impact on my life with the books is always bring a towel. I bring a towel to every rugby match. I brought it to every single practice. I have one in the car. It has saved my ass many times, especially before this fucking podcast. Right?
It'll never lead you astray.
Never. To discuss my favorite scene in the 4 books that I've read in the series, it has to be, I think it's Zorquan, the ancient prophet, who returned to the great fanfare of his followers at the restaurant at the end of the universe. Even thinking about it now just makes me laugh. Like, it's fucking so dumb. It's so silly and great. Though I think the best ending is life, the universe, and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With this success came the demand for output. And with this, before we can move on, Davis, I should ask, and I didn't add this here. How do you view, what is your impact, like, everything about this book? What's your overall, like, how did it impact your life?
Well, I think it is very helpful in making sure you come down on the right side of the absurdist nihilist divide. It does a good job of really inculcating that nothing matters and that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we're going to talk about his atheism a little bit later, right? And his agnosticism at first, but it's definitely a book where if you're religious, it tells you it's okay that things are weird and absurd, and that's sometimes how life is. Sometimes life is just completely absurd and makes no sense, and if you are viewing that within life and you're going through that like personal reflection that maybe your things are just like not what they appear and you end up an atheist, like this is a book for it, right?
Yeah, the only thing that matters is the point at the end of the sentence.
And not to say who are religious to take it that way. You could also just have a fun time reading it, which a lot of people do. With the success came more demand for output, and with this demand for output came due dates.
Hold on, I'm just imagining Douglas Adams doing Veggie Tales.
After the third book, Douglas Adams was feeling a little burnt out from the series that made him, famous and objectively wealthy at this point. I'd have to remind people that he was also working on other projects while he was writing this book, right? An example of this is a mock dictionary filled with humorous definitions I think it's called The Meaning of Liff, published in 1983, which he teamed up with his old pal John Lloyd. When did The Meaning of Life come out, right? Like, that's the question. 1980?
Ooh.
Like, that's a good question.
That's worthy of a Google.
Yeah, that like probably is a spin-off of that. And I mean, my favorite, and again, absurdist, and if you ever watch the end of the Monty Python Meaning of Life, holy shit.
1983.
Yeah, okay, same year. So I don't know if it was I should have looked this one up. I don't know, if he was riffing off of it, or I'm sure he was. He knew the Monty Python guys. He was still friends with them.
It might be a riff. It might just be they both started from the same premise.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they hung out in the same circles, definitely. Adams was having writer's block at this point in 1983-ish, and he was also self-admittedly procrastinating on writing, everything. Though I'm not sure how accurate some of this is, but he admits it, so let's just go with it. On the day that the manuscript for So Long and Thanks for All the Fish was due, he only had written 25 pages.
That checks out.
Yeah. It got to the point where his editor locked him up in a hotel suite and kept him there until he completed the novel. This editor she's very famous. I didn't add her into this because we don't need to. She's still alive. So this is allegedly, and if you go for it, look enough, you need to. I don't think you remember this, Davis. When I read the fourth book, we were living together, right? And I think I either mentioned this to you or texted you that this book was written as if it just needed a fucking cash-in check.
Yep.
Riding on the coattails of a successful trilogy. I'm not the only one who thought so. This is Dave Longford's writing. It's the sci-fi magazine called White Dwarf. Of course it was. Quote, sequel holism has drained Adams of his high-speed inventiveness, which made him famous. No doubt he'll agree with me all the way to the bank. Unquote.
He was quite self-aware.
I mean, well, that was the sci-fi writer. I agree with him. That was a brutal book to read. After the other ones, it just wasn't funny. It wasn't good.
I don't know. I feel like that's seems to be the problem with a lot of absurdist writers, is they're a victim of their own success. Because you could say the same thing about Heller. Like, no one speaks Closing Time anywhere near the same breath as Catch-22, let alone the third one that I can't even remember.
Yeah, I've got all of Heller's books, and I'm going to do Heller one of these days, and we're going to do a series on Heller because he's got his own life. He's a pretty interesting dude. Yeah, no, it's, he's absurdist, but, I don't think he's, nowhere near as this, Well, his absurdism is also World War II. This, he functioned through World War II. Vonnegut, I guess, could be the World War II absurdism, but,
I guess that explains. Well, not even, because Hitchhikers has an edge. I mean, it's hidden behind goofy comedy, but there's a serious edge to a lot of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a serious edge in all of late 20th century. I mean, these These are people who are the first generation after their entire countries were destroyed, in some places. So, all right. So after this supposed false imprisonment of his own mind, it's understandable that Adams wanted to expand past the HHGG or HHGG series, at least writing it. And here we will discuss something that Doug E.A. is also well known for. He was a very early adapter of the proponent of both computers and video games. It's evident in his writing, obviously, specifically in the third book's plot with the supercomputer, but also in all of them, right? Like, I'm pretty sure the supercomputer's in the first plot, but
it's pretty much the whole way through.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like how the computer. Okay, well, this is a spoiler.
Deep Blue or whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about the people. Yeah, whatever. Never looked up. They were always looking down. As early as 1984, terrible year for this, Douglas Adams was involved with Infocom to develop the Hitchhiker's Guide video game adaptation of the novel. The game sold 400,000 copies initially, and it's critically acclaimed to this day. It's one of the best video games of the era, apparently. It's really, really good. A few years later, Adams was asked by Lucasfilms Games to join a week-long brainstorming session for the video game Labyrinth, based on a movie of the same name. He would actively work on video games until his passing, right?
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
I know. I didn't either. Just because Douglas Adams was done with Hitchhikers for the time being doesn't mean he wasn't writing novels. 1987, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency was published. This is a whodunit kind of style of detective novel and shares a lot of similarities in that kind of sci-fi absurdist work that he was writing.
Serialized, or is it just a one case thing?
It's just a one case thing. Like it's the 80s now. We don't serialize novels anymore. I haven't read it, not in time for the script. The people who read it, who are big fans of him, love it. So I'm just going to go with if you're a big fan, there's not much to expand past.
Without Dirk Gently.
Yeah,
I know they've tried to do a couple adaptations of it. I'm not sure how they've ever landed, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, the Hitchhikers, it's difficult, apparently. He has a sequel to it, The Long, Dark Tea Time of the Soul, which I believe I have as well. This is one of those books that I found, I found most of his books at little libraries. The only one that I had a difficulty actually getting was The Hitchhikers. And I've had to purchase that multiple times because
no one gives that up.
Because I gave it to people. I just kept giving it to people. It was like, okay, well, fuck me. I guess I'm never getting this one back. But I don't know. It's kind of the silly part of it. It's like, well, every other one of these have just, other than So Long, Thank You for Fish.
My anthology went as a Secret Santa at one point.
Yeah.
Or a good old Yankee swap.
In the 80s and 90s, Adams' writing did slow down considerably. So he was a rich man from his most famous work, right? And he did what many rich people do, and that is to do whatever the fuck interests him, right?
Time to retire.
For his part, Adams was the fucking man. He joined environmental activism. In 1985, he had been asked to buy the World Wildlife Fund and the Observer to travel to Madagascar to find the endangered a tiny lemur that has a long middle finger that constantly looks like it's flipping off the world.
Oh, I can't think of a better man for the job.
No. You mentioned Greg Delanty earlier. He has a great fucking book called No More Time, where it's the flipping off the fucking reader because it's about environmental activism. I don't think he knows what happens next of why the is so endangered. Which is kind of fucking sad. They successfully took photos of this tiny creature in the wild. I read about these creatures and the reason why they're endangered, outside of deforestation, of course, and obviously climate change, is that they're considered bad omens by the Malagasy, I believe it's how it's pronounced, people. So they're often killed just on sight. I know, right? They're considered a harbinger of evil and death, and farmers believe they destroy and eat their crops. I don't mean to malign the Malagasy people when I state this, and it shouldn't be taken as such, for there are plenty of instances in Western cultures where we kill animals on sight because we believe the same thing, right? Similar, all right. Bats are a good example, and they honestly are objectively good for us. They might carry diseases, right? They definitely carry rabies, but they do more good than harm in local environments. But like if you had bats in your ceilings, you kill them. You have to do something about them, right? You have bats in your backyard, which is wonderful. It probably fucking does
They
wonders.
belong outside.
Yeah, it does wonders for the mosquito population. Absolutely wonderful for them. Yeah.
They don't belong in the belfry.
I mean, opossums are the scariest looking fucking creatures in North America when you just look at them objectively. And they're one of the greatest creatures, but they were the same. When white Americans came, they fucking thought they were the devil.
Yeah, well, I mean, possums are famously easy to kill. All you got to do is look at them.
Yeah, they play dead and then they smell. Whereas opposed to skunks, they are the most.
They play alive and then they smell.
And then everybody smells. Have you ever had to deal with skunk spray?
Yes.
It's the worst. It's the worst. Holy shit.
Cosmo's predecessor got 2 skunks in the course of a week.
Our dog, when we grew up, had the same. We had Flora sprayed once, our dog currently, and like the spray got onto the door frame, the windows of our back porch where we used to live, and you just saw this like yellow fucking just what the fuck is this? It's just
mustard gas.
We talked to the landlord, and it was like the landlord was like, "Well, I guess that's just what's going to be like." It's like, I guess our fucking house, your house, smells like fucking mustard, huh? Or gas.
Maybe you should deal with the varmints living in your yard.
Yeah, really. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, yeah, our dog was there, but like, a fucking skunk was living here.
Yeah, the dog was there. The dog pays rent.
Yeah, literally. And it's not like we have a backyard. The dog was just there peeing. Like, we were with her. It's what the fuck are you talking about? Opossums and rabies aside, Douglas was known in the early 90s for his animal rights activism. I won't get into it too much, but my favorite example of this is 1994. He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. For a portion of it, and just long enough for the photo shoot, right? He wore a rhino costume to bring awareness to the nonprofit Save the Rhino.
Oh.
I know. But, very performative for sure. But then again, that's why you do it.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a performative male.
Now, I did some quick research, and Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, came out the following year in 1995. So my headcanon is to believe that this stunt influenced one of the funniest and fucked up scenes in the most ridiculous Jim Carrey film, where Ace Ventura exit out of the mechanical rhino's anus hot, red, and sweaty. But if you haven't seen it, it's fucking hilarious. It's amazing.
Jim Carrey calling out that Renussi.
Dude, it's a 10 out of 10 clip. Moving backwards a little bit here, the 5th book of Hitchhiker's Saga, Mostly Harmless, did come out in 1992. I don't own and didn't read this book, but from what I understand, it ends at a much darker tone, and it's to the point where fucking even Douglas Adams says, like, it just ended too dark. He wrote it during some personal times in a rough year, and he would always want to try to write a 6th book, and that's what he spurred some notes from. We've discussed him at length at this point, but let's wrap this episode a little bit up with some things like music tastes, religious beliefs, and romantic life, because we haven't even talked about his romantic life at all.
The eccentricities.
So let's start with the biggest one, his music tastes. We've already talked about the Beatles. Obviously, he was into rock music. It's not an exaggeration to say, he grew up in Britain during one of the biggest rock eras ever. Douglas Adams was a big Pink Floyd fan. It shouldn't surprise people to learn that he actually hung out with members of Pink Floyd, primarily the post-Roger Waters era, which can be described as the David Gilmour writing era, which, to each their own. If you know Pink Floyd, enter your own judgments here, but, I'm not going to. I'm a big Pink Floyd fan. I understand their history, too. It shouldn't also surprise you that, Pink Floyd had their finger on the pulse of British comedy. They were one of the bands, including, Led Zeppelin, who fucking bankrolled the first Monty Python film, Life of Brian, right?
I forgot about that.
I think it's I just said fucking, like Meaning of Life was my favorite, but like Life of Brian still might be.
Meaning of Life's a better product. Life of Brian's a better movie.
Yeah, absolutely. The fucking Life of Brian is one of the greatest examples of comedy and like just absurd, like showing in your face what was happening in religious context of like the actual prophets at the time versus like The Meaning of Life is like, well, just go fuck. Well, spoiler alert, go read a book, buddy.
I guess I'll go fuck myself.
I guess I'm just gonna go die in a hole and like nothing's gonna matter, right? I still do not, and I don't think you have to understand that whole fucking scene of, is it over here or is it over here? I don't like what. I guess they just were fucking with you.
Yeah, no, I think they just needed to give Terry Gilliam some work in that movie.
He had plenty of work in that movie. Excuse me. How did we all die then?
The salmon moose. Is that store-bought?
Douglas Adams had dinner with members of Pink Floyd. They did not die of the salmon. Specifically, they were trying to discuss a payment to Douglas Adams' favorite charity, Environmental Investigation Agency, because of course that's his fucking favorite agency. Like what a name. He did not come up with that. He's just associated because of the name.
What is that, like an anti-poaching agency?
I don't know. It's British. I didn't actually look into it too much. The band was considering the title of their newest album at this point. Adams listened to either part of it or the entirety of it, one way or another. He suggested a name from what would be the most recognizable song called High Hopes. Yes, Douglas Adams came up with the name of the 1994 Pink Floyd album, The Division Bell. It would have been called either Down to Earth or Pow Wow otherwise.
I was a little concerned you were going to say Adam Hart Mother.
No, that's when was that? 1968?
Yeah, that's way earlier.
No. Division Bell, if you're a big Pink Floyd fan, like, I don't know, people love it. Like, it's the one where there's the two heads looking at each other about to kiss, basically. They look like Eastern Ireland heads. They might be, actually. I personally, post 1980 Pink Floyd, whatever, like, The Wall is a masterpiece. I don't really.
You can't come back from that.
Yeah, Momentary Lapse of Reason and fucking Division Bell are like things I put on once in a while, but not my favorite. I don't think. That means some people love it. Good for you. Not my favorite. Pivoting hard here, let's briefly discuss Douglas' relationships, right, and his romantic partners. Early in 1981, way back, Adams became romantically involved with the novelist Sally Emerson. Sally was going through a separation with husband Peter Stothard.
Those names sound familiar, but I can't place them.
Yeah, they were both well known at the time. And it seemed like everything was going goodly godly great for the two of them. Douglas even dedicated Life, Universe, and Everything to her. Shortly after the book was published, she and her husband rekindled their relationship. So to this day, that book is still dedicated to her, even though it was a short flight.
Well, I mean, if you read the book, I think that was probably the right move in the long term.
Yeah, it fucking totally works. So Douglas almost certainly may have had a couple of girlfriends before or after Sally, but we just don't have the time and didn't get into it. You know, like, it's not like one of those things where it was the most exciting parts of his life. It was another one of those things where I like looked up his like politics. I'm like, I've done a lot of politics episodes recently, and like, you know what? He just seemed like fucking fine dude.
Yeah,
like,
not as good as they should be.
Sure, but like whatever. Like, some people are like that, some people aren't. We don't need to have to add it every single time. This isn't a politics podcast after all. We're just admiring his work, and like there really isn't a difference of separation of work and him either. Like, you seem like a fine enough dude. Because we'll talk about
what you see is what you get.
Yep. Douglas almost certainly may have had a couple of girlfriends, like I said, but a couple of years after he broke up with the person that was still legally married to another man. He met Jane Elizabeth Belson. I know I put it that way, but they were separated, so it's not weird. who was, at that point, a barista. The couple would separate for a brief time, for a while, but in 1988, they got back together and married, 1991. And by all counts, this was a happy and loving relationship. They named their daughter, a few years later, Polly Jane Rocket Adams. Pivoting hard here again, by the end of the fourth book in the trilogy, it was published, Douglas Adams had stated that he was very firmly agnostic. We're talking about his religion. However, he wasn't a full-blown atheist in the late 80s. He became one. Back then, he said there's no evidence either way, so it makes sense.
So, he was a bit of a gambling addict?
No. I mean, I don't know, actually. Maybe he would have been
taking Pascal's wager pretty hard.
Sure, why not? He might have been into,
Kalshi. Polymarket?
You're not naming gambling apps. You're
DraftKings?
Yeah, DraftKings. Thank you, Davis.
Those are all gambling apps.
No, Polymarket's a fucking...
New York Stock Exchange.
It's a New York Stock Exchange, but that's not... I guess it's a gambling app, but it's not a fucking... it's not a gambling app. Dude, I'm sorry. Yes, it is, but no, it's not. In all theory, the difference between predatory natures there.
That's where I bet on the ponies. I go to Kalshi.
All right, I'm going to keep that mostly in. Bukowski over here betting on the fucking ponies. All right, but by the time he was in his late 90s, right? In the late 90s, he never gets to his late 90s. He was a radical atheist, and he mentions radical because he would say that there's no fucking denying he was a massive atheist, right? Back, I mentioned, you mentioned the TED Talk, right? It was never a TED Talk. This wasn't anything like that. If anybody ever listens to it, you should. Douglas Adams did this thing called On Parrots, the Universe, and Everything. It's one of the last public appearances that he makes and organized by the University of California, and I think it barely predates TED Talks.
Yeah, it was a real squeaker.
Yeah, it's a brilliant 88-minute TED Talk-esque monologue. He just discusses many topics. I remember seeing this as shortly before reading the books and being fucking mind blown.
Oh no, I came to it well after I finished.
I mean, it's just the concept of who we are, how we are as humans, right? He adds that obviously there's parrots, and he's trying to specifically try to find one parrot in an obscure the Komodo Island, right? Mm-hmm. He's discussing about how humans created God in our likeness because we viewed ourselves as somebody who could be a godlike figure, and it's brilliant. It's just brilliant and highly recommended. And it's available on YouTube, but you have to watch the whole one. You just don't watch parts of it.
Yeah, maybe do 1.5 speed if you want.
Yeah.
Feeling froggy.
Throughout his life, Douglas Adams and his family would move back and forth also from the greater Leonard area to the greater Los Angeles area, where when work dictated it. It wasn't a thing where he enjoyed it as much. I mean, he liked LA, but...
What was he working on at this point? Just philanthropy, or was he
video games actually? Specifically video games. In 2001, the family was living in Santa Barbara, where Douglas wanted to see his famous novel at this point turn into a movie. Right, that's big too. He was ahead of his time, kind of in that sense, but always he also understood the thing. He had his finger on the pulse. Unfortunately, he would never live to see the dream of his most famous work become a movie and hit the big screen.
Wait, where would he insert himself as a cameo in Hitchhiker's Guide? Do you think? Where would he have? I bet he would have been the architect in the planet building planet.
We want to go back to the fucking prophet. I feel like he would have been that. I feel like that would have been him if they ended up doing a second film.
Maybe, but I don't know if he thought himself was actually having the answers. I thought he just has the questions.
Oh, there's absolutely no answers involved in any of these, though. Well, what if he's deep thought, just his voice?
No, that is probably not what he would have asked for, but what they would have settled on.
Yeah, actually, no body language and no unfortunately for him. Again, going back to the fucking a wonderful University of California speech, though, where he like is dictating the spotlight of him being just on the center and him dictating where the parrots were. I don't know. He nailed it. Like it was just it's brilliant. Yeah, Douglas Adams even fucking mentioned that he wasn't like the biggest. He wasn't meant for the big screen.
Yeah, emoter.
All right. Well, going back to his death. So the saddest part of this. May 11th, 2001, while working out at Platinum Fitness, Douglas Adams collapsed of a heart attack.
Well, at least he made it to a step above Gold's Gym.
He died that same morning at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital at the age of 49. Very, very similar to fucking Chef Isaac Hayes.
No, I got that. I just don't... Is that just a age of passing reference?
It's just a millennial reference, honestly, at this point. Davis, like, I had this intrusive thought when writing the script. Do you think there are hospitals out there that have plaques commemorating where famous people died, similar to how, like, plaques are where famous people were born and lived?
I think there are probably a couple, but not nearly as many as there should be.
I think, and this is something that people can take from here and steal it from here on in, but we're going to take it right now, that if you do a dark scene comedy sketch of just people coming in while somebody's giving birth and going, oh, this is also where Douglas Adams died. Or somebody way more absurd than that. Like, yeah, just having an emergency birth in a hospital.
Like
and tourists coming at the same time, like fucking, and they just like have a roped off. It's like, oh yeah, that's just tourist time. Sorry.
Just a brand mother's mortified as like people are gawking like.
She's already 10 centimeters dilated. Oh my God. We digress. I know. Like, we see an hour and 15 minutes before when he was writing for fucking Monty Python. There was a memorial service on September 17th, 2001 on St. Martin in the fields of Trafalgar Square where no important event or world-changing like event happened or could possibly have overshadowed this specific memorial service. Absolutely nothing between the time of his death and September 17th, 2001.
Wait, are you telling me a second Heart of Gold has hit the restaurant?
His ashes are now interred at Highgate Cemetery, London. No, not that one. But yes, that one. Shortly after his death, The Salmon of Doubt was published, which served both as the third part of Dirk Gently trilogy and had a collection of essays and stories and interviews written by Adams himself. This is the posthumous work that was written entirely by Adams. But it wasn't the only book that was published posthumously, right? 2009, the author of Artemis Fowl's book...
posthumously, so this is after he stopped being funny?
Was the author of Artemis Fowl's books, I think it's Owen or Ewan?
Owen.
E-O-I-N. Owen. Colfer was commissioned to review Adams's notes on the sixth book of Hitchhiker's Guide series. This was to honor Adams's vision to write one last book, as he felt that Mostly Harmless was too bleak. Really wanted to just like end the series on an uplifting note, right? I haven't read it, so I can't comment whether or not that's true. I just know that obviously people were upset about this because, of course, they were.
Well, I mean, I am actually here for it, having read the Artemis Fowl series as a kid.
Same. I like the Artemis Fowl series, and like they're not absurdist. Don't get me wrong, but like he fucking nailed a lot of it. I'm a big fan of it. Douglas Adams was undoubtedly massively influential. 2 weeks after his passing, the first Towel Day was celebrated, and is still celebrated on May 25th every year, with astronauts even specifically celebrating almost every single year the ISS, right? They fucking do it all the time, dude. Of course, with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy being sci-fi, and with Adams being very interested in technology, it also influenced the worst people currently living in the fucking world, namely the Silicon Tech Valley bros. Like, fuck these guys. There are mostly harmless examples, bringing it back, such as chess-playing computer called Deep Thought being named after the fictional supercomputer in the books. However, DeepMind, Google's AI research library, is a homage to the fucking same thing, right? The allegedly impotent Elon Musk also called Adams the best philosopher ever, which is stupid.
Yeah, I would have figured you'd go for Hegel.
Musk doesn't know what philosophy is if he thinks that, because like actual philosophers were Douglas Adams. Like he was never one. He never claimed to be and never wrote any philosophy. I don't really know how anybody can agree on that. I
think he's probably going off of like a modern day. Who's the famous cynic? I forget. Behold a chicken.
This is past Behold the lobster, right?
No, this is
We're not talking about the fucking person I took for a series on like, you know.
No, we're talking about the
David Foster Wallace.
No, I mean, I imagine he probably took a fair amount from him, but the barrel.
They were
wearing
contemporaries
phenom,
basically at that point. And nothing about David Foster Wallace's reading of him. Did he take anything from Douglas?
No. But I
Adams,
imagine David Foster Wallace probably. Diogenes. So
he's not contemporary.
Diogenes is a contemporary of Plato, but Douglas Adams, in Elon Musk's mind, could be a modern day Diogenes.
It would still make him fucking stupid.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's what made him stupid, but
it's just a mind-bafflingly dumb argument. Douglas Adams is like a mindset where he just goes, "Oh no, we're the modern day philosopher." He's not a stand-up comedian.
Oh, you beat me to it.
When Musk pulled the stunt of launching a Tesla into space instead of doing some charitable work with it, like Adams probably would have done, honestly, like spending the money on animal activism or like climate change, what he was starting to do. There was a copy of Hitchhiker's Guide in the glove box. Lastly, Musk claims that Grok is inspired by the supercomputer, which many fucking people who are doing AI is doing that right now. Now, I can't be certain if Adams would have liked AI or not, right? We don't know. Like, we just don't. My guess is that he probably would have loved it in theory, but would have been horrified by the environmental costs that data centers currently have, and that the fact of the matter is that they're not doing what he would have thought they should have done, which is namely destroy art, destroy nature, and destroy everything that he like would have loved, and without like any of the benefit. I mean, we've listed this recently, but like one of the things when I was working in the renewable energy industry, and I'm still kind of in it, I'm more in the energy efficiency industry, which is different, is that like there could be a very easy and very applicable mindset where we just do a kind of a World War II-esque demand of like, oh, we just need a change. Like everybody in America can obviously change if like the ideas were out there. We've proven it multiple times. World War II is one of them, post Civil War, post World War I, but like it was just like this mindset of like, no, we're in a crisis mode and like we can all change as a country in the culture. And the only difference between now and then is that currently we're being forced to try to have the same culture change with data centers. Basically nobody wants them, but they're being forced down our throat. I could give a fucking shit less whether or not like my fucking 48-year-old ex like fucking neighbor is like making a fucking a gif about like how like relive her fucking 40s again. It's just like, and that's like actually a very specific fucking gif that I saw recently. I'm like what the fuck's the why? Who is this for? For one person? For like 20 gallons of like water? Like we don't need this. Right?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Wait, are you trying to contend that Douglas Adams would have been a military Keynesian?
No, I guess like this rant is like we don't know what he would have done. I just suspect that he probably would have not enjoyed the AI that we have out here, right? Like his AI was cheeky and witty, whereas your AI is more
evil shenanigans.
Yeah, right, Farva.
Although I do think he might have enjoyed the absolute ridiculousness of the existential crisis we face.
I don't think he enjoyed existential crises.
Well, so enjoy is not the right word, but I think can appreciate, not almost relish.
My reading of it was his way of coping with the existential crises and making it his own, which, you know, we it's not a vacuum, right? We're talking about 20 years after the greatest sci-fi novels of the post-nuclear war novels ever, like, right? Like, and it made very much a lot of sense to me where, like, Earth was already destroyed in his first book.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah, like, we're not even talking about Earth as a thing anymore. So, any more comments about this before we finish up?
I just wonder when his dad got into the computer sales business.
I'm going to recite my favorite quote from Hitchhiker's Guide before we do any of the plugs and sources. Quote, "Even the most seasoned star tramp can't help but shiver at the spectacular drama of a sunrise seen from space." Unquote. So my Patreon is Lost in Library on Patreon. I also have the Lost in Library podcast at Gmail. Follow us on Instagram, Lost in Library podcast there. And I have a Substack where I've been publishing work recently, just like old stuff. Everything's under development, right? Long episode, but it's the 50th, so thank you, Davis, for that. So some of the sources are Douglas Adams' books, obviously the Hitchhiker Guides all the way through. I mentioned Parrots, the Universe, and Everything several times. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Jay Rood, which is like on his fan website. There's a bunch of fandom.
Is that
Monty
on the same
Python
album
fandom.
as Sandstorm?
Yes, it is. I actually don't even remember how I'm going to listen to Sandstorm and remember how that fucking goes. BBC.UK biography blogspot that I also was able to pull out some things from Douglas Adams' Master of the Universe, The Independent by Michael Bywell. Nick Webb's Wish You Were Here, the official biography of Douglas Adams. M.J. Simpson's Hitchhiker, a biography of Douglas Adams. His own biography website, and a sleuth of articles, Towel Day, paperback novels, all the wiki articles on his books as well, because it's been like a decade since I've read his books, honestly. I've creaked open a couple of them. Pan Books, The Burkus, Monty Python, Division Bell, the Sally Emerson, and Douglas Adams. Any last comments?
No. Just one of the greats.
One of my favorite authors, not my favorite books, obviously. Like, I think that, I love his work, but I'm a fucking heady author, like, kind of guy. So, just a fun fucking 50th episode, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't believe it's been 50.
Yeah, no, dude. It's been 2 years, basically. Yeah.
Hot dog.
Hot diggly dog. Cheers.
Cheers.